The wedding's over, the feast has been cleared, but for this Amish couple, the night is far from finished. Unlike modern newlyweds who slip away for some privacy, Amish couples face a wedding night that's anything but ordinary: pranks, traditions, and a test of patience that'll leave you stunned. Why is the bed missing? Why are they sleeping apart on their first night? And what secret trials do they have to endure even before tying the knot? Stick with me, because what goes on behind closed doors during an Amish wedding night is nothing like you'd imagine. Hey folks, take a breather, relax, and feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. The wedding feast has wrapped up. Those massive tables, once piled high with homemade mashed potatoes, roasted chicken, and steaming apple dumplings, are now being cleared by a small army of helpers. The barn, where the celebration took place, is softly lit by the warm glow of oil lamps. Outside, the night air is sharp and fresh, carrying the scent of freshly cut hay. The newlyweds, Ethan and Clara, sit together, worn out but smiling, their hands brushing ever so slightly, a rare public show of affection in a community where romance is usually kept behind closed doors. But the night's far from over. The young Amish men huddle together, whispering and stealing glances at the couple. Clara's cheeks turn pink as she catches a muffled laugh, and Ethan sits up straighter, bracing himself for what's coming. Unlike in the modern world, where couples disappear into their own little bubble, Amish newlyweds have to survive a series of carefully planned pranks first. Ethan's brothers and a few mischievous cousins have been plotting this for weeks. They're not about to let the couple slip away quietly. Instead, they make sure the night kicks off with laughter, or maybe a little discomfort. In some Amish communities, the couple's bed gets taken apart and rebuilt somewhere completely unexpected, like a barn, a cornfield, or even on the roof of the house. Other times, the mattress goes missing, replaced with bales of hay. In stricter groups, the bride and groom won't even get to be alone. The first night of marriage is often spent in the same house as their family, and sometimes they don't even share the same bed. To outsiders, these customs might seem strange, maybe even hard to believe. But for the Amish, these pranks serve a purpose. They ease the tension, turning what could be a serious moment into something lighthearted. It's a test, sure, but also a way to bond. In Amish marriages, partnership is everything. Being able to handle life's little surprises together, no matter how small, is a sign of a strong couple. And if you think this is shocking, just wait until you hear what happens before an Amish couple is even allowed to marry. Stay tuned, because the next tradition we're diving into is even more mind-blowing. In the modern world, engagement rings are all about love, commitment, and showing off. But in Amish culture, there are no rings, no flashy proposals, no big romantic gestures. Instead, when a couple decides to marry, the man gives his bride a practical gift, often a set of fine china or a handmade piece of furniture. It's a symbol of what's to come, a life built on simplicity, practicality, and faith. This quiet engagement can last for months before anyone outside the couple's immediate family even knows about it. Unlike mainstream culture, where engagement announcements flood social media, Amish couples keep their plans under wraps until just a few weeks before the wedding. Before the big day, the couple has to go through a pre-wedding church meeting, a final moment of reflection and commitment. These meetings, led by church elders, are both a blessing and a test. The couple has to affirm their faith and their willingness to stick to Amish traditions. For outsiders, this might seem intense, but in the Amish world, marriage is sacred. Divorce is practically unheard of, and couples are expected to stay together for life. That's why these meetings exist, to make sure neither person is taking this commitment lightly. One of the most misunderstood Amish wedding customs is bundling. This tradition, practiced in some conservative communities, is meant to test a couple's ability to resist temptation. The night before the wedding, or sometimes earlier in the courtship, the couple might be allowed to sleep in the same bed, fully clothed, separated by a wooden board or even sewn into fabric that keeps them from moving. The idea is to spend the night together without giving in to physical intimacy. It's seen as a final test of self-control, faith, and discipline before marriage. Unlike traditional Western weddings, where the meal is catered, Amish wedding feasts are a community effort. Dozens of women work in the kitchen, kneading bread, stirring pots, and setting up long wooden tables. The air is filled with the smell of fresh-baked pies and roasted chicken. Everyone, family, friends, and neighbors, pitches in to make sure the meal is ready for the hundreds of guests. And while the food is plentiful, one thing is noticeably missing: alcohol. Instead, guests drink homemade fruit juices, fresh milk, or coffee. No wedding rings, no premarital relations, no alcohol at the reception. What surprises you the most about the Amish community? Let us know in the comments. We read every single one. At 16, Amish teenagers face a unique crossroads. Raised in tight-knit communities that avoid modern conveniences, they're now allowed to explore the outside world. This period, called Rumspringa, meaning running around, in Pennsylvania German, gives them a taste of freedom before they have to decide whether to be baptized into the Amish church or leave the community. For many, this newfound freedom is both exciting and unsettling. The allure of modern life, cars, technology, fashion, stands in stark contrast to their simple upbringing. Some might go to parties where they wear contemporary clothes or even experience city life. While outsiders might see Rumspringa as a rebellious phase, the Amish view it as a crucial step toward making an informed choice. By letting their youth experience the wider world, they can decide for themselves whether to commit to their faith and lifestyle. Remarkably, most, over 80%, choose to return, embracing baptism and the Amish way of life. How do you find love in a world without dating apps, texting, or even flirting? Stick around, and I'll tell you. And if you're enjoying this, don't forget to take 5 seconds to subscribe and turn on notifications. We promise to bring you plenty of fascinating stories. Courtship in Amish communities is subtle, almost invisible to outsiders. It starts not with words but with glances, quiet gestures, and shared moments in group settings. A young Amish man, like Ethan, might notice a woman during church services, at a barn raising, or during a social gathering. But unlike in the modern world, he can't just walk up to her and ask her out. Courtship in the Amish world is unspoken, stretching out for months, sometimes even years. The man has to figure out if the woman is interested first. If she holds his gaze a little longer than usual or chooses to sit near him at a church gathering, that might be a hint. To outsiders, this kind of restraint might seem outdated, but in Amish culture, modesty and patience are everything. Even in private, Amish men and women don't openly express romantic feelings. No love letters, no grand declarations. Everything is measured, respectful, and tied to tradition. Once a man thinks a woman might be interested, he can take the next step, but it's done in the most discreet way possible. In some Amish communities, a man will wait until after a Sunday night youth gathering to make his move. These gatherings, called singings, bring young Amish men and women together for an evening of group singing and socializing. If a man wants to pursue a woman, he'll offer her a quiet ride home in his buggy. For weeks, sometimes months, these Sunday night buggy rides continue in silence. No one announces their courting. The community might suspect, but nothing is confirmed. Why all the secrecy? Because in the Amish world, relationships are serious. There's no dating for fun. A courtship leads to marriage, or it ends quietly, with no gossip or public heartbreak. Even though Amish men and women technically choose their own partners, family and the church play a huge role. Parents watch, guide, and sometimes share their opinions on whether a match is suitable. The final step. Once a couple is sure they want to marry, the man has to get permission from the church elders. Only after that approval can they announce their engagement, usually just weeks before the wedding. For Amish men, growing a beard isn't just a style choice, it's a declaration of faith and commitment. A man only starts growing his beard after he's married, a visible sign that he's stepped into adulthood and taken on the responsibilities of a husband and provider. But the mustache? That's where things get interesting. To understand this unique grooming rule, we have to go back in time, centuries before modern America, to an era when military officers across Europe wore thick, curled mustaches as a symbol of power and rank. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the British, French, and German armies required soldiers to grow mustaches as a show of discipline and strength. Back then, a mustache wasn't just facial hair, it was a badge of war. The Amish, being strictly pacifist, rejected anything tied to violence, including military fashion. By refusing to grow mustaches, they made a silent but powerful statement: we are a people of peace. Beyond its historical roots, the clean-shaven upper lip also aligns with deeper Amish values: humility, simplicity, and separation from the modern world. Unlike in mainstream society, where personal grooming is often a form of self-expression, Amish men don't grow beards to stand out. Their beards are untrimmed, natural, and uniform, a collective symbol rather than an individual statement. For an Amish man, his beard is more than just hair, it's a lifelong vow. Once he's married, the beard must never be shaved. No exceptions. Even in old age, through hardship, and even after the loss of a wife, the beard remains. This commitment reflects the Amish belief in permanence, devotion, and an unbreakable connection to God. Unlike in mainstream culture, where shaving or styling facial hair is a personal choice, the Amish beard is an unspoken covenant, a mark of faith that's never taken lightly. But what happens if an Amish man decides to shave his beard? The consequences are severe. If an Amish man completely shaves his beard, it's seen as an open rejection of Amish values. In some cases, this can even lead to shunning, a form of social exclusion where the individual is cut off from their family and community. Before the night's surprises and hidden customs, there's a day filled with solemn rituals and communal joy, a day that lays the foundation for everything that follows. For the Amish, a wedding isn't just about two people coming together, it's a sacred commitment that binds families, strengthens the community, and affirms faith. Unlike mainstream weddings, which often focus on extravagant venues, designer gowns, and elaborate receptions, Amish weddings are simple, humble, and deeply spiritual. So, how does an Amish wedding unfold? Unlike in the modern world, where engagements are celebrated for months or even years, Amish couples keep their engagement a secret for as long as possible. There are no social media announcements, no diamond rings, and no engagement parties. Instead, the engagement is revealed just weeks before the wedding during a Sunday church service. The bishop announces the upcoming marriage in front of the entire congregation, making it official. From that moment on, preparations begin. But there's little time to waste. Why the secrecy? Because once an Amish couple is engaged, there's no turning back. Marriage is a lifelong commitment, and publicizing it too early could lead to unnecessary gossip or pressure. Amish weddings are held in the bride's family home or barn. The ceremony itself is long and deeply religious, lasting 3 to 4 hours. There are no white dresses in an Amish wedding. Instead, the bride wears a simple homemade blue or purple dress. No veils, no makeup, and no jewelry. Amish women don't wear wedding rings, as jewelry is seen as a sign of vanity. The same dress she wears on her wedding day will also be her funeral dress one day, a symbol of humility and acceptance of the life cycle. The groom wears plain dark-colored clothing, along with suspenders and a black hat. Unlike in mainstream weddings, the groom doesn't propose on one knee or exchange vows with grand speeches. His commitment is shown through action, faith, and devotion. The wedding is conducted by an Amish bishop and includes scripture readings, hymns, and sermons about the responsibilities of marriage. The couple doesn't exchange rings or personal vows. Instead, they pledge their devotion through a series of questions asked by the bishop, to which they respond with quiet affirmations. Amid the gravity of sacred traditions, the Amish manage to inject a little humor into life, even in something as simple as a name. Amish families are large, very large. And in a world where there might be 5 Johns, 6 Marys, and 3 Samuels in the same village, names alone aren't enough. So, how do the Amish keep track of who's who? Let's take a look at some of the funniest and most unexpected Amish nicknames, and the stories behind them are as fascinating as they are practical. According to a 2025 population study by the Young Center for Anabaptist and Pietist Studies, the Amish population in North America has now surpassed 400,000, with an average family size of 6 to 8 children per household. With families this large and a limited pool of traditional names, repetition is inevitable. What happens when a single Amish community has 10 men named John? Or 3 Samuel Millers living on the same road? To solve this problem, the Amish rely on descriptive nicknames, practical, often humorous, and always meaningful. These nicknames are usually based on a person's occupation, physical features, personality, or even a funny event from their past. One of the most common ways Amish families distinguish between people with the same name is by attaching a parent's or grandparent's name to their own. For example, Johnny Eli, John, the son of Eli, or Sammy Emma, Sam, the son of Emma. This system helps trace lineage, making it clear which family branch someone belongs to. But when a father and son share the same name, things can get tricky. That's where creativity comes in. Big John and Little John are simple ways to separate a father and son with the same name. Young Joe and Old Joe are another common variation. But sometimes, even that's not enough. That's when nicknames based on physical traits or personality quirks come into play. Here are some real examples of Amish nicknames. Bald Levi, self-explanatory. This Levi had less hair than the other Levis. Red Jake, not because he's angry, but because he has red hair. Happy Johnny, always smiling, never in a bad mood. Limping Amos, a man who walks with a slight limp. Some nicknames come from a person's job, skills, or even a favorite hobby. Chicken Sam, a man who raises chickens. Wagon Dan, a man known for making or driving wagons. Beachy John, a beekeeper named John. And then there are the nicknames that are just too good to ignore. One-Eyed Mo, a man who, for obvious reasons, only had one functioning eye. Double John, not because he was 2 people, but because his father and grandfather were both named John, so he was Double John. Chewing tobacco Sam, a nickname from older times when some Amish men still chewed tobacco. Some nicknames even come from a funny event that happened years ago but sticks with a person for life. Imagine making one mistake as a teenager and suddenly being called "falling off the buggy Dave" forever. The use of nicknames reflects the Amish deep sense of practicality. Instead of unnecessary complexity, they focus on what works. If a simple nickname helps prevent confusion, why not use it? In many ways, these unique naming traditions offer us a deeper insight into Amish life than any rulebook or set of guidelines ever could. The significance behind their naming customs, steeped in both practicality and personal connections, paints a vivid picture of the Amish community's values. It's not just about the names themselves but the stories they tell about the roles individuals play within the family and society. Now, I'm curious to hear from you. Which Amish nickname caught you by surprise or piqued your interest the most? Do you think this system of naming makes sense in the context of Amish culture? Or would you find it odd or uncomfortable to be known as Tall Tom or Cheesemaker Jake for your entire life? I'd love to know your thoughts, so drop a comment below and share your perspective. At the heart of every Amish wedding lies an undeniable sense of community, a profound bond that brings people together as if they were part of one big, tightly knit family. These weddings aren't just a celebration of love between two people, they're a celebration of shared history, shared values, and a collective commitment to supporting one another through life's most important moments. In the Amish world, every celebration, no matter how big or small, is treated as a communal event that reflects the importance of unity and collective effort. This stands in stark contrast to the way weddings are typically approached in modern society, where individualism often takes center stage. In today's world, couples often spend months or even years planning every detail of their wedding day, from selecting the perfect venue to hiring professional planners, florists, photographers, and caterers. The focus is frequently on creating a picture-perfect event, complete with an elaborate celebration that's often more about the spectacle than the simplicity of the moment. In contrast, an Amish wedding is much less about perfection and much more about authenticity and communal involvement. Rather than sending out ornate wedding invitations or relying on formal announcements, the Amish community takes a more personal and intimate approach. News of the upcoming wedding is spread verbally, typically during church services, just a few weeks before the ceremony. The absence of extravagant stationery or formal invitations underscores the Amish belief in the strength of relationships and the closeness of the community. Word of mouth is enough to inform everyone of the joyous occasion. When it comes to the meal, there are no hired caterers or outside vendors involved. Instead, the entire community comes together to prepare and serve food for hundreds of guests. Amish women, working as a collective, gather at the bride's home to create a meal from scratch. The effort involved is nothing short of monumental. Each dish is made by hand, from the perfectly roasted chicken to the delicious homemade pies that will be served as dessert. Every meal is a labor of love, prepared with care and the intention of ensuring that every guest is well fed and warmly welcomed. This communal effort is a testament to the deep sense of togetherness that defines Amish life, where no one is ever left out and everyone plays a role in making the occasion meaningful. The setting for an Amish wedding is remarkably simple and unpretentious, reflecting the community's core values of humility and modesty. No professional decorators or florists are involved, and the venue is often a humble barn, a family home, or a church. There are no extravagant or elaborate decorations to be found. Instead, the space is kept sparse, with only minimal adornments to maintain an atmosphere of simplicity. In Amish tradition, beauty isn't measured by ornate embellishments but by the purity of the ceremony itself. This minimalist approach ensures that the focus remains on the spiritual significance of the occasion rather than any material flourishes. In line with this, there are no hired musicians, DJs, or bands, and music and dancing are entirely absent from the celebration. The absence of these modern elements. What truly stands out about an Amish wedding is the emphasis on faith, family, and community bonds, values that are far more important than any form of external entertainment or distraction. One of the most remarkable aspects of an Amish wedding is the sheer scale of the communal effort that goes into preparing the wedding feast, which serves as the heart of the celebration. According to a 2025 report by the Young Center for Anabaptist and Pietist Studies, Amish weddings typically host anywhere from 200 to 400 guests, all of whom are treated to a traditional, home-cooked meal lovingly prepared by members of the community. The preparation of the meal begins days in advance, with the women of the community coming together to bake bread, roast meats, and make the iconic church peanut butter, a sweet and creamy spread that's become a staple of Amish wedding meals. Meanwhile, the men contribute in other essential ways, handling logistical tasks like setting up tables, bringing in extra chairs, and addressing any construction or venue preparation that might be needed. This collaborative effort is a powerful expression of Amish values and plays a significant role in maintaining the delicate balance between the modern world and old world traditions. In a time when social media often glorifies opulent weddings and lavish honeymoons, the Amish steadfastly hold on to the belief that the true essence of a wedding lies not in material wealth or outward displays of grandeur but in the deep, unshakable bonds of togetherness, the enduring beauty of simplicity, and the unwavering commitment to faith and family. The celebration reflects these values, prioritizing what truly matters in the hearts of those involved. No celebration is ever truly complete without food, and in Amish culture, food plays a pivotal role, not just in marking special occasions but as a central part of daily life. The Amish kitchen, which serves as the heart of the home, offers a welcoming atmosphere filled with the comforting warmth of a wood-burning stove. The air is rich with the irresistible aroma of freshly baked bread, and homemade pies are often found cooling on the windowsill, waiting to be enjoyed. In stark contrast to the hurried, on-the-go nature of modern fast food culture, where meals are often eaten quickly or while multitasking, Amish food is intentionally prepared and savored slowly, grounded in a deep respect for tradition and community. But what exactly does Amish cuisine look like, and how does it reflect the broader Amish way of life? At its core, Amish food is defined by its use of fresh, locally sourced ingredients, many of which come directly from the farms that are the foundation of Amish life. Staples like freshly baked bread, homemade noodles, hearty meat and potato dishes, church peanut butter, shoofly pie, a type of molasses pudding, fruit pies, pickled vegetables, preserved foods, homemade cheeses, and strong black coffee are common elements of the Amish diet. These meals are never eaten in isolation, they're shared in a communal setting, whether at home or during larger community gatherings. This emphasis on shared meals highlights the Amish belief that life is meant to be experienced together, in harmony with others, rather than in solitude or isolation. The Amish pride themselves on their self-sufficiency, relying on their own farms, bakeries, and smokehouses to produce almost everything they eat. Unlike the modern reliance on processed foods, the Amish milk their own cows, churn their own butter, and grow their own vegetables. Their approach to food isn't driven by convenience or the ever-changing trends of the outside world. Instead, their meals remain grounded in simplicity and are passed down through generations, staying remarkably consistent over time. There are no expensive imported ingredients or exotic spices, just straightforward, wholesome food that reflects their values of humility, hard work, and a rejection of excess. While daily meals are simple and nourishing, special occasions like weddings, funerals, and larger community gatherings call for feasts on a much grander scale. Despite their steadfast commitment to tradition, Amish cuisine has evolved slightly over the years. Some Amish communities now sell homemade baked goods and cheeses at local markets, introducing subtle influences from the outside world into their foodways. A few groups have also embraced gas-powered refrigeration to simplify food storage, making it more convenient while still staying within the bounds of their values. Additionally, certain Amish businesses have adopted organic farming practices and sustainable agricultural methods, appealing to a broader modern audience. Nevertheless, the heart of Amish cuisine remains unchanged, with time-honored recipes that have been lovingly passed down from one generation to the next, continuing to be prepared with the same care, respect, and devotion to tradition. The Amish way of life offers a remarkable glimpse into the past, serving as a living representation of how things were a century ago. While their food traditions are already fascinating and distinct, their approach to transportation might intrigue you even more. You may wonder why, in the 21st century, the Amish still rely on horse-drawn buggies as their primary mode of transportation. The answer is deeply rooted in their values and way of life, and it might surprise you. Unlike most Americans, who depend on cars for their daily commutes, the Amish have deliberately chosen a slower, more disciplined means of travel. According to a comprehensive 2025 report from the Young Center for Anabaptist and Pietist Studies, over 95% of old-order Amish communities continue to prohibit personal car ownership. Instead, they rely entirely on horse-drawn buggies for all local travel. So, why have the Amish made this choice? The answer lies in their deeply held belief that owning cars promotes unnecessary travel, fosters individualism, and encourages pride and materialism, values that clash with their core beliefs. In the Amish worldview, cars symbolize freedom, mobility, and personal achievement, all of which contradict the community-focused, humble lifestyle they strive to maintain. While cars allow individuals to travel at will, the Amish believe that horse-drawn transportation helps preserve the principle of local living. It keeps families close to their homes and communities, encouraging reliance on neighbors and limiting the temptation to indulge in outside conveniences. However, the Amish aren't entirely opposed to travel. Many communities do allow the use of cars in specific circumstances, such as for long-distance trips, but only as passengers. For these situations, they might hire a non-Amish driver, often referred to as an Amish taxi, to transport them in emergencies or for important trips beyond the range of a horse and buggy. Despite this, owning or operating cars is strictly forbidden, as it goes against their values of humility and simplicity. While the horse and buggy might seem outdated or impractical to outsiders, the Amish have adapted this mode of transportation to suit their unique needs. Buggy designs vary widely from one Amish community to another, but all share practical elements like reflectors and lanterns for safety, as well as built-in limitations on speed and travel distance. These adjustments ensure that the buggy is well suited for rural environments while maintaining a sense of tradition. That said, the Amish do face increasing challenges in sharing the roads with modern vehicles. According to a 2025 study by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, accidents involving horse-drawn buggies have risen by 12% over the past decade. This increase is primarily attributed to impatient drivers who fail to slow down or give proper space to the slower-moving buggies. To combat these dangers, some Amish communities have begun advocating for designated buggy lanes on rural roads, ensuring their traditional way of life remains safe amidst the growing presence of modern vehicles. In many ways, the Amish buggy is more than just a means of transportation. It's a symbol of their faith, resilience, and steadfast commitment to a simpler, more deliberate way of life. Far from being a relic of the past, the Amish buggy is an enduring testament to a community that values tradition, unity, and the peaceful pace of life they hold dear. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into Amish traditions, make sure to stay tuned for more fascinating insights into a world untouched by modern chaos. Because when it comes to the Amish way of life, every tradition, no matter how small, holds a deeper meaning than meets the eye. If you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. I'm sure you'll love this content. And comment below about the next country or culture you'd like to see featured on our channel.